So continuing on, we're going to look at, because we've been focused a lot on the future of our industry and where it's going. So next up, we're going to look at how dealers can prepare for AI and future readiness. To help lead that conversation, I'd like to welcome up Tim Hayden. Tim, are you ready?
I'm ready.
How was the joke? Was that a good joke?
You told a joke?
I did tell a joke.
Oh.
You missed
the
joke?
Yeah, no, it was a good joke.
You got to put it in your database.
It was in my database.
In your database.
Yes. Awesome. All right. I'm going to go a little bit more than 17 minutes with this. AI is all around us, and AI has been all around us for some time. If you've been watching the news in the last 10 days, some major seismic announcements have been made, and I'm not just talking about Skynet. I'm not just talking about what we're seeing the Trump administration do with Larry Ellison and friends. So, let's talk about how fast this is moving, and the things I'm about to talk about are things that happened last week, not the things that happened over the last 3 or 4 days. First thing is, for the first time since 2015, less than 90% of search traffic is going to Google. There have been ebbs and flows since we had ChatGPT burst on the scene in November of 2022, but now we see everything starting to take bite sizes of the traffic away from Google. It's Perplexity. It's what OpenAI is doing. It's what Anthropic is doing. It's what all these companies are starting to do to say, we don't need search results, we need answers. And you're going to see more of that, and nobody's going to make it happen more than Google. They're going to kill themselves in the next 2 or 3 years. Google, as you know it, that is. So the other thing that's happening here is where Google goes, Microsoft is going to go. Google announced just about 2 weeks ago that if you're on Google Workspace, they're going to put Gemini, or I got an email this morning saying Notebook LM will now be available at no extra charge in my Google Workspace. Anybody here who doesn't know what Notebook LM is? You don't? Okay. It's the fastest way for you to learn something about a company or somebody. Go look it up, Notebook LM, and you can take something as simple as a LinkedIn URL, drop it in, and 5 minutes later it'll send you an email and say, here's a podcast to listen to about the person that you profile that you just shared with it. So there's more to it than that in terms of what they'll do, but it's the same thing about Google's deep research now that they're doing as well. Just to point it in a direction to talk about a topic, and it goes out and looks at thousands of websites and gives you some type of report. Microsoft is doing the same thing with Copilot, which is a little bit scary because 5 times last year, people at conferences like this showed how Copilot could be weaponized by bad actors to suck information off the desktops where it was installed. I think Microsoft is taking care of that, but my point is that AI is being put on you, and this is the AI that you can't control. What else happened in the last 3 or 4 weeks? Minimax, a company out of Singapore, is giving away an open source model that has memory. What does that mean? If any of you have used Meta's Llama models, they come in all sizes now. You could put one on your iPhone or your Android phone if you wanted to, so you could talk to the data on your phone. Bottom line is that none of those models that have been free so far have memory. Minimax does, and that's where the biggest opportunity is going to be for people in the automotive industry to do AI their way with open source models. OpenAI has gone public and revealed that they are building a robotics program. Why? Because Tesla is building a robotics program. They have to try to compete in any which way they can. Revenue diversification, something that car dealers don't do a very good job of. You're starting to see this happen with the folks that are on the front edge of defining tomorrow. They're already starting to diversify what they do, not just chatbots that we can talk to and prompt to get answers. Microsoft, in that same week, announced that they've built an AI that designs materials for the future. It doesn't just do architecture. It just doesn't do CAD drawings. It actually is designing materials. I offer these as examples about how fast the world is moving and how competitive these companies are going to be as they see software as a service die. As their business models are challenged, They are going to do everything they can to diversify and show relevancy in the marketplace. The last one I got for you is an AI image generator that now allows you to go edit afterwards. Any of you who've used AI image generators, used Midjourney or any of these other tools, sometimes you just get what you get whenever it gives you an image. Now you've got the opportunity to use Flux and actually go back and edit whatever's there. These are incredibly powerful tools that allow you to do things that would take you days or weeks in seconds or minutes. So, when we think about how things are moving very fast, the important thing to understand is that AI's been around for a long time. When the United States brought a bunch of German scientists over to our country to build weapons, those folks brought with them fantastic math to be able to solve big data problems back then and big math problems back then. And we digitized that over the years, and we did so mainly by machine learning, Python. That's what got us through the early 2000s. And that's what started to make things like social networks change what we believe and what we see and how we feel good by what's in our streams. That was all AI and ML back then, probably more ML than AI. Where we are today is generative, productive, taking over tasks for you. And you see that all the time. Raise your hand if you use ChatGPT on a weekly basis. Raise your hand if you use Claude on a weekly basis. A few. If you're a Claude user, I love you. Claude's my man. Bottom line is, over the next several years, the change gets faster. The more AI there is, the more innovation that happens, the more new products, the more new possibilities that happens. I believe we'll see sometime over the next 2 to 3 years, blockchain as a service. I'm not talking about cryptocurrency, but blockchain as a service come in alongside what we're doing with AI to improve the fidelity and the integrity of information on the internet. We've got a big mess to clean up there, but here's where things get hairy, is on artificial general intelligence. Sam Altman says that he's on top of it all the time. I don't believe that he is. He does not have the footprint that Google does. He does not have the footprint or the infrastructure that Apple does. He doesn't have the cash he doesn't have a tenth of the cash that either of those companies have. I can tell you right now, it won't be OpenAI that brings artificial general intelligence to us. What is that? It's basically a model that can reason faster and more accurate than anybody here, any human can. It can have more accurate answers on any question you ask it and be generally more intelligent than humans. Somewhere after that, anybody tells you they're an expert, anybody tells you they know what's going to happen next, quantum computing is going to change all of this. This is not that talk. So, the thing that I tell clients all the time is you have to take on an iterative mindset. And I call it a first rodeo mindset. You have to understand that every single day, you're going to be able to use artificial intelligence, both public, that you can't control, and that which you can control, coming through some of these software providers, some of these vendors that are here on this floor, many of them who say that they are and they're not. You're going to have opportunities to bend the use cases specific to your business. Instead of software being something that is made for doing something for everybody, AI is here for all of us to very bespokely, customized, configurable, do things for our business, specific to our business. And it's happening so fast, but what are we dealing with in this industry specifically? We're dealing with a resistance to change. And that's wrong. That's what's wrong with the car business. There's not a thirst to diversify revenue. There's not a thirst to really apply technology to change business. You're still selling 10 cars per month per person on the floor today, just like you did in 1984. AI is here to change that. So, quickly, a couple things. This is what we do at Brain Trust. We look at performance data management. That's customer data platforms. It's master data management. It's bespoke cloud environments that have applied AI models specific to the business, proprietary to a business, operating in that cloud environment. Privacy and compliance. I don't care who's in the White House, we're not going to see deregulation in terms of customer data privacy, FTC safeguard rules. Those are here to stay. We have to be secure with our data. We have to be private about our data as best as we can. Cybersecurity. I'll talk a little bit about this in a second. It's not just about building a moat around your business. or a fence around your business, that's the easy part. SOC 2, penetration testing, that's the easy part. The hard part is getting digital literacy into our organizations so people don't click on things that they shouldn't. More on that in a second. And then private and scalable AI. We're at a point right now where it's never been cheaper and faster and easier for you to do things in your environment securely and privately with artificial intelligence. The automotive market segment has trends and challenges right now that AI is showing up just in time to make sense of and give everybody some competent navigation. I'm not going to narrate this for you. Everybody knows these. And when I talk about future readiness, it's first of all a challenge that anybody says that they can future-proof your business. I've heard 2 or 3 booths around here who've said, if you use us, you're future-proofed. Bullshit. I can tell you right now that this conference is absolutely an example of what happened with the snow this week, that you can't future-proof anything. You can't future-proof what happens in politics. You can't future-proof what Google's going to do to you or what you can do with Google. So you've got to be future-ready, and you've got to be able to control transformation rather than transformation controlling you. Quick stories about a couple of these companies that are doing this to us. X, what used to be called Twitter. When Elon Musk acquired Twitter for $44 billion, him and some friends on Wall Street, right? He didn't buy Twitter. He didn't buy a social network. He bought 17 years of human thought. 17 years of snarky conversations on Twitter. He's got all of it. And for the last 10 years, everything in TV, radio, and print went through Twitter. All of it did. He's got all of that. Anybody use Grok? Has anybody used Grok on X? We got a Grok user. Well, not only that, he's got 3.5 million cars that he gets all the data from them. They all go to a supercomputer. Dojo is the name of that computer. And 2.5 million people get Starlink. They get their internet through Starlink, supplied by, out of the 10,000 satellites in our sky, 6,500 of them are owned by Starlink, right? All the data going in and out of those houses is all going back to the X companies. Don't think for a second that Elon Musk can't say or do the things that he says he's going to do. He proves us wrong all the time, and he has the data to show up and put up a good bout with Google. I can tell you that, and certainly OpenAI. And all you got to do is look at what happened in the last week. He's not too happy with the fact that Sam Altman got the nod to sit next to Larry Ellison instead of Elon being able to do it. Google, everybody knows what's happening there. Gemini is their model of choice. They are pushing it out in Gemini 2.0 just this week. It would have been one of those early slides. Gemini 2.0 is free for you to use. And it can go from an inference and performance standpoint, it can go toe-to-toe with ChatGPT 4.0. It's free. You can go use it right now. Meta, what's fascinating about them, that's the company that violated our privacy for the last 15 years with Instagram and Facebook, WhatsApp, right? They were crawling on our phones while we slept at night. They're the ones now giving open source models away with their Llama family, 648 million downloads of those Llama models right now. That's people in coffee shops that are building ChatGPT competitors, and they're doing it vertically, and they're doing it for the automotive industry. They're doing it for people who make donuts or dry cleaning. The rest of the folks up here, I don't have to narrate for you. In the bottom right, if you don't know who Anthropic is, that's who makes Claude. And the reason they make a difference is because Amazon has invested $7 billion in them. And if any of you are privy to 20, 30, 40 plus rooftop dealerships, if you're using an enterprise customer data platform that could include Telium, Treasure Data, any of these others, Claude is being pushed by AWS as something you can use in the interface of those customer data platforms to do more faster with fewer people, faster in real time. Lots of things coming from the rest of these companies, and I won't go through the rest of it. Data is a value, is what I'm trying to tell you. Data, all of those companies right now are doing everything they can to block each other. It was just March of last year that Amazon put all the blocks up to not allow Google to index Amazon.com. When you get an Amazon result on Google.com, Amazon paid for it. Google didn't crawl it. Their agents didn't come get it. So these companies are all doing the same thing with their data so they can have the best language models, the best chatbots, the best AI that anybody has because they have proprietary data, which is my argument for dealers all the time is you have proprietary data. It's your customers, it's your parts, it's your employees, it's your culture, it's your workflows, it's unique to you. That data does not need to be managed by software that was meant to do something for everybody. So who else wants your data? Little groups of teams in Vietnam are sending text messages like this to us. How many of you get a text message at least once a week from a number that you don't know that says, hey, how are you? Or do you want to go to yoga with me tomorrow? They make it sound great, don't they? They try to get personalized. The natural thing for people to say to that one is that I'm not Miss Connie. Well, as soon as you reply to one of these messages, they verify that your phone number is valid, and they go to the dark web, and they find anywhere they can find a match for it with a social security number, a mailing address, or credit card numbers. This is how bad actors work, and this is where things happen in predominantly Southeast Asia and predominantly Vietnam right now. They're posing as USPS, as the Postal Service. Hey, they're coming at us on Instagram. They're trying to pretend that we have toll accounts that need to be topped off. Look at the URL there. Would I ever click on that? I wouldn't. I'm in the business, but there are people that work alongside us, unfortunately, that don't know the difference. And as soon as they do, they validate that the phone is hello. Ah, y'all ready? Let's do this. Okay. And they're sending us email, right? I get 2 or 3 of these every, I would say, 45 days. These things that say, hey, we've got an RFP for you. We got an invoice for you. Click here to open it. All they're trying to do is validate that there's somebody on the other end. They're not phishing all the time. Sometimes they are, but they're just trying to validate that you're there, because if you are, they'll target the hell out of you with more Miss Connie messages. This ends up in very bad things happening, right? This is big companies who have somebody who doesn't change their password or hasn't downloaded the latest version of an operating system, which of course is leaving the door open for bad things to happen. And we see bad things that happen. We see bad things that we hear about it on the news all the time, massive data breaches and things that happen. And this is an industry that still operates on a single point of failure. So when something happens to it in one dealer in one place, everybody else who's using that software just has to do things different for a number of weeks. It was a data breach. It was a Russian organization called Blue Suit. And that's a problem for this industry. You got to have a backup of your data. You got to have something else. So what else about data we have to understand is data deprecation. The data that you have access today is less than the data that you had access to last week. Again, the companies I listed earlier are all doing what they can to be able to squeeze you and not give you as much access to data. But they're also giving tools in terms of ad blockers and VPNs and browsers that hide their identity, that screw your metrics on your side on what's working and what's not working. There are ways around this with first-party cookies. If you're using one of these customer data platforms, most of them will have an SDK that allows you to do that. It won't be just a Google Pixel, but it will be something else that you're able to do to their browser and be able to retarget them a little bit better than if you were relying on a third party. The other thing that's happening is private equity firms are starting to look at the data as part of the valuation in due diligence. And as they're doing that, they're looking at EBITDA, they're looking at P&L and balance sheets, but they're also looking at the health and the current state of data, company A versus company B. Why? Because they can calculate integration costs, because they can look at what the redundancy or what the net gain in market might be if the two companies were to combine themselves. We do this with AI agents now. We don't do this with a week of analyzing your data. We just put AI agents in there, and 24 hours later they come back and they say, company B has this that company A does not. And a little bit of math, how much it's going to cost to integrate systems. So the forward path for everybody right now is to really lean in on building a data intelligence task force, creating conversations in your companies to be able to talk about systems, to be able to talk about technology, so everyone gets on the same page and everyone is more acutely aware of how to protect themselves, and better yet, what to invest in, not to be redundant in managing your data. Unifying your data and resolving your data across the entire organization, not just your marketing data, is your job by December 31st of this year. If you do not do it by the end of this year, you maybe have 6 months next year to have your data ready for all the other AI that you're going to be able to subscribe to or that you're going to be able to interact with in the outside world. And then be diligent about your use cases. Do not let somebody tell you they're going to demo software and tell you what your use cases are. You put lists together on what your business outcomes are, what they need to be. So before your AI strategy, you need a data strategy. This is what it should look like. I'm not going to narrate this, and I'm pressed for time here, but it has to be a very thoughtful process in terms of what you're doing. It has to be a very thoughtful view of your systems, of your workflows, of your processes, and what the state of your data is today. And then really aligning processes, workflows, and use cases along a roadmap to prioritize what it is you think you want to achieve. Then it's time to bring in software companies and folks like us to be able to talk about implementation, to custom configure them to deliver on all of the above. The other thing this does is it improves the digital literacy across the organization. So for most businesses, the reason we're talking about this, most businesses, data is still very disparately managed. The car business has done a pretty good job of taking, 7 of the 20 systems that are in a rooftop and connecting them with a DMS, but that still leaves much to gain, especially when it comes to fixed ops and inventory management and VIN intelligence. All of this data is correlated. The vehicle is correlated with people. You need to be able to have AI. You need to be able to have it all in the same system so you can start to get smarter and derive insights of how these things relate to each other. If you don't, you just deal with the fragmented infrastructure which creates waste and friction. Bad things happen, poor customer experiences, and inconsistent data. This is what it looks like once you have master data management in place. Everything is reporting to a single source in the middle of your system. This is a very generic slide. It's not for the automotive industry, but this is what companies are doing right now, both big and small, to have all of their systems in one platform. This is what it looks like. Identifying your data sources, implementing a master data management plan or a customer data platform, having trusted data, and with that, understanding the correlation between all of the things that define your business. In this business, the biggest opportunity is to obliterate the gulf that exists between fixed ops and variable ops. It's the same customer who bought the vehicle, who went through F&I and got a lifetime whatever, and now is lucky enough to pick you for oil changes. There's data from that customer that exists all over the organization. You got to bring that together, and it makes everybody smarter, and it actually gives you customer lifetime value. It's the thing I love to ask dealers: who are your most valuable customers? And the best a dealer can ever say is, I know who the 20 families are who buy a car from us every 18 months. Data and AI can tell you that there's another 200 people in your systems, databases, CRMs, marketing automation system, who actually spend more, do more, subscribe to more than those 20 families. We already talked about this. This is the consolidation era. There's going to be quite a bit of merger and acquisition activity, lots of things happening there. And this is what the future of applied AI looks like. There will be enhanced collaboration. Okay. Take a picture of that. That's how you get started. These are the questions you should be asking the vendors here, right now, and what you should be asking your business.
And Tim, I hate to cut you short, but we're a little short on time. But please hang out on the side. I know that a lot of valuable information that we need to know. So please hang out on the side. For anyone that has questions, Tim's going to be right on the side for a little bit. Let's give him a big round of applause.